That is such a tragic story for Rose having lost her daughter to go collect water with this long distance walk away, and then she drowned. And so, what a tragic story, but it's got a happy ending. Of course, that we believe that her daughter is with the Lord, and probably can see her mother has now got a nice fresh water well right there. And so her death was not in vain, if you could say it that way. The whole village is now being blessed in her honor to have that local water well. So thank you so much for giving into the well for Rose and for many others. Every 3 days, a new water well. So, all right, it is time to bring in Fernando. So with the Prophets and Patriots here we go with Prophets and Patriots. Well, Fernando, welcome to Elijah Streams. It's nice to have you today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor. Thank you.
Now, you're in the Dominican Republic? Is that where you are even now?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're real excited to hear this story, and I think before we get into, or as part of going right into this, I would love to hear the story of how you got into rescuing children. There must be a story, and I do know that what you're about to tell has a pretty interesting happy ending. So can I just turn that over? Tell us how you even began this journey of doing this.
Well, that's a good question. Every time I have a person who wants to volunteer on human trafficking, I always ask them, "What's your story?" Because if they just say, "Oh, just to help" or whatever, they easily be persuaded. They probably help a day or two and then they stop. But if you have something that actually marked your life,
Yeah,
then I will believe you, that you will actually help. So my seed started when I was younger. I grew up in a domestic violence household. My father used to go in drunken rages and beat my mom, myself, and my other brothers. And at the age of 13, I finally left my house and started sleeping in the streets, and
wow,
eventually a graveyard where it was nice and quiet. No one bothers you at nighttime, So at that time, I wanted to always help my mom, but I couldn't because I was just a kid and my father, was an adult, a monster. And those seeds of helping vulnerable women or vulnerable people, period, started to grow, and thank God a church was able to save me from the streets. And I just wanted to help people more, vulnerable than I. And that's, the seeds of this started when I was a child.
yeah.
Um,
So then now that's in your heart. How did you get from that to forming an organization and literally there had to be a very first time where you went out. I assume you had help to go rescue. Tell us the story of the first rescue.
Yeah, the first rescue was actually an operation of walking through a known street corner, and there was probably about 10 or 12 victims. To this day, I still don't remember how many it was because there was just a light on this one particular victim that was just shining on her, and
Whoa,
that victim became my wife.
whoa,
Yes, we have two beautiful children now and everything. She is Dominican, and it was through her that I understand the mindset of victims. To this day, she's still not fully healed here. You can rescue them physically from the street, but the
yeah.
real rescue starts here, and that's the
Oh wow,
long process. That process
yeah.
is long.
That makes sense. Now you found the Lord somewhere in your life. That was that early on. You said a church kind of rescued you.
Yes. While I was in the streets, of course, you're homeless, you're hungry, and another team told me that there's a church on top of a supermarket called ShopRite, giving free pizzas to the youth around the community, to bring
Wow.
them in and preach the gospel. So I was like, all right, let's go eat pizza and leave.
Yeah.
Well, when I got in, um, I got filled with more than what more than what's pizza. Yeah, I heard a message of a man called Jesus who
Wow.
died for me, a simple nobody, homeless kid. Why would he die for me? And I just heard the message of love, and I just got filled with that. Then the pizza, I don't remember, how the
Yeah.
pizza tastes, anything like that. And just that message alone hit me. Now, if the youth pastor was talking about condemnation or hell and stuff, I'm living hell. You're not telling me anything new. But he spoke
Yeah.
about grace and love, and it just something foreign to my ears, So I just, from there on, I just serve the Lord.
Wow, that's so cool. Now let's come back to your wife, the one that you ended up rescuing, and of course you didn't know at the time she's going to be your wife. But
Yeah, no.
what did you have? Did you go to a certain street corner to look for victims that you would rescue, or was there a what would be were you searching a specific person or group of persons? Or
Yeah,
how did that
network.
start?
Yes. Yes, we
Okay.
were searching for a network. We already have information and intelligence on that particular network, and she was, happened to be there. And when I was, we got the rescue, hearing her story and stuff, just I felt like, that, before I didn't know that soulmates really exist, but I really do now, and
Well,
just,
yeah, I mean, you described her as you saw almost a special light on her.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
fascinating. That's
yeah,
fascinating. Well,
yeah,
and you talked about in her mind, or any victim's mind, not just your wife's, that's where the rescue has to take place.
yes,
Our ministry supports a bunch of anti-trafficking ministries who help restore those.
yes,
But this is the first we've had anyone on that's actually involved in the rescues. Um, there's so much that could be said, and I was going to comment on this too, as you mentioned it. I was in an abusive family, and it was bad in every way. But I always had food to eat. I always had a bed to sleep in. No one ever stole me away, and I can imagine being a person who would be so empathetic but have no grid for being a rescuer, because I mean, when you lived on the streets, you're already, when you're out and about, you know exactly what they're going through.
hmm
Because how many of these that you rescue? Um, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and talk about, Fernando. Let me just ask it this way. Maybe give us a story, and it can be the very last one you did, the very last rescue, or the very first one that's so super significant beyond your wife. Tell us a story that would kind of illustrate some of this stuff.
If you want to hear the recent one, it's kind of the one that I spoke to in Mark Z. That's the recent one. So you know what it contains. It contains children, 2 years
Yeah.
old, 4 years old, being raped, plain and simple, and being filmed and putting up in the dark web. It was a German network, and we're still on that network because they're spread it all around the world. But we got the ones from here at least, and was able to rescue those 3 kids from that German network. And at the same time, from a local Dominican local, we rescued 3 other kids that he was doing the same thing
Man.
with his own kids, actually, too. Not only with a 2-year-old, but with his own kids. So that was the most recent one. That was a couple of months ago, I believe.
And that particular, you must have been, because he was filming, so he was into this to make money from
Yes.
not just pornographic videos, but horrific child rape videos.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and what is it with Germany? You mentioned that. Has Germany got a especially significant problem in this area of trafficking, or what?
Yes, according to the United Nations, they do their child pornography or CSAM, child sexual exploitation, is very huge in Germany. But they don't like do it there. They go to other countries and do it. But the filming in the what you call it, the main base where they get all store all the footage is in Germany. Yes.
Can you kind of paint a picture for us? And okay, you're going to rescue this one that's recent. Paint a picture of what you had to know before you brought your team, and how many were on this team. Kind of paint that picture so that we could visualize that in our head.
Yeah, you would. We need to. They did, let's say, 176 hours of surveillance. The reason why I say not 8 days, it was 8 days, but some of the days was 32 hours straight surveillance, because we have to pinpoint all the places they visit. Any trafficker, not only this group, we have to find out where they frequently visit, what they owe. Then we go undercover. We can either act like a interested client, or what I play is a security personnel for a client that has a lot of money and he's looking for little boys or girls or women, and they just give me all the information I need. All the information I need gets recorded on the phone or some spy gear. Then we go to phase 2. We bring it to the prosecutor. If the prosecutor says, well, this is something we can, go ahead, we go for the rescue mission. Yeah. It could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. That depends how large the network is.
And then you're preparing to rescue them, and the rescue would take place. Is it all in one night, in a couple of minutes you've effected it, or does it take place on multiple locations?
Well, it depends on the network. Like Operation Cataleya, which was last August, we rescued 80 Colombian women at the same time. That was 14 places in 3 different provinces. And but it was about 200 officers, prosecutors, agents, and everything involved in that rescue.
Wow. Okay, that's massive, Fernando. Now I'm getting a picture of just how significant. So you have 3 to 6 months or something in prep for an op. So you don't just say, well, let's go get one this week and let's go rescue. This is much more.
Yes. Operation Cataleya took 9 months from start to finish. Yeah.
Now, I mean, I saw in my notes that, of course, you're in the Dominican Republic, but do you rescue outside of Dominican?
Yes, we have in Colombia, Ecuador. I'm going to start ATB US pretty soon next year. Okay. That particular photo is when I trained 40 Homeland Security agents on human trafficking investigations.
Really?
Yeah. So, but I'm going to start ATB US pretty soon.
And so when you're training our Homeland Security people, who we think of them as being some of the best, I guess, because they're American, blah blah blah, but they're obviously, they need what kind of things are you bringing to the table that they don't know, or is it just everything?
No, it's because human trafficking, especially after COVID, evolved. Before, it was easier to go to a place and you see the girls there with the trafficker, but now it's like you order them through a catalog, through the internet, or through WhatsApp. So you need technology training, dark web training as well, and it's just a different MO. Plus, I train law enforcement departments, how to do it with low resources and little manpower, because most departments of human trafficking, they're the less resourced department around the world. It doesn't matter which country you go to. The human trafficking department is the less resourced department.
So they have less money than all the other departments, the less human resources to help, less policemen ready to help, to jump in man. Can I ask you a question on whether this is in the Dominican or whether this is over here, for the things you may have heard about this? Fernando, to what degree are law enforcement, either there in Dominican or here or other places, part of the problem? In other words, they're involved in it too. What would you say about that?
Human trafficking would not exist in any country if there was not a corrupt officials. It would not exist. It exists because they are corrupt officials involved in the trafficking, one way or the other. Every operation that I did, there was always a police officer or an immigration officer involved.
Really? So there's always, and then judges, what about that?
Yes, they can be bought off, or they can be one of the clients.
So that, oh man. Do you have stats in your head? Let's say you're starting to get to know the American situation. Do you know what the figures are? Let's say in the United States, how many children go missing, probably into trafficking from the U.S. each year?
From my head, no. I'm not into stats because I
Yeah.
always say like, okay, you say 35% of this. How you know? Did you count each children? And if you did, where are they then? If you know where they are, So I don't deal
Yeah.
with stats, But I don't really know. I know that in the United States, what most traffickers, or the method that most traffickers use, is called the romance or boyfriend tactics, which they basically groom, or you can say groom the victim through Facebook or the internet. They Because the teens nowadays, they just put their whole life on Facebook, so you will know that they have an argument with their mother like 5 minutes ago. So the trafficker will
Mm.
use that. He would use it as, come outside, meet me here, let's, forget that, relax or whatever. And it's not the person you think you're talking to. But in the United States, is mostly they use the tactics. It's called like either boyfriend tactic, romance tactic, or grooming, whatever you want to call it. But that's mostly what they use over there in the US.
Is there what would you say? Because the parents, I was thankful that we got all the way through raising our kids, and now they're married. Before we, nothing like that ever happened. But there are parents that lose their children. Are there fundamental mistakes that people make as parents? Because I can imagine it's different in third world countries than maybe some where they're supposed to be educated.
Uh-huh.
So the tricks and tactics are probably different. But what are the mistakes that the parents make in an educated environment? Let's say like Americans, how do they lose their children when they're supposed to be so aware of that?
Well, children don't are not born with a manual. That's first and foremost, and each person has
Yeah.
their own thing. But you can do it could be an extreme, either or. You could either be too strict and they like shield them from the world, but that's what makes them want to go out more to see what are you shielding them from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
happens to a lot of pastors. Their daughter or something become like rebellious or something because you're like shielding them too much. Or if you give them too much freedom, like giving them a phone at the age of 7, and they just
Oy.
start with YouTube, Facebook, and everything, have already accounts at age of 7, that's a mistake as well. So it's like a street, whatever extreme, it needs to be like a balance in the middle, some kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, wow. Okay. Um, where do I want to go with this? You actually gave me a question to ask you, which was this one. What are some cases that hit home? So maybe you had something in your thoughts about that.
Yeah. Besides the minors, the let's go back to Operation Catalea. That it took too long, but the prosecutors, have their own way of thinking. The investigators always like bumping heads with prosecutors, but within that time frame, 4 different times of victims escaped. One of the
Oh,
victims
wow.
escaped, and she was gang raped and had internal bleeding. They even put I'm just gonna be blatant. They even put bottles where bottles not supposed to go. Another one came out with her mind like a 5-year-old girl.
Oh, man.
Another one came out with like she was trying to slit her own wrist. So it was like just it got me to a place that I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to sleep, I didn't want to do anything. I just didn't know what to do. It just
It's like you were personally traumatized.
Yeah, because I was like, why aren't we doing the rescues, man? What's going on? You have all the evidence, but like I said, the judges and prosecutors needs to think to have a longer sentence, but as investigators, we think, we have all the evidence they need, but the prosecutors and judges have a different mindset. But still, it just hurts. Like, why are we doing the rescue now? You know what I
Oh,
mean?
so they're wanting a longer sentence, so they want to
Exactly.
capture more crimes,
Yeah, yeah,
so they can charge him with more, therefore a
yeah.
longer sentence, right?
Yeah. Fortunately, yeah. I was like,
Yeah, and you
man,
can kind of see that too, but I mean that doesn't help the poor victim.
no, it doesn't at all.
Well, Fernanda, how have you dealt with the trauma? Because you're probably eating now. I mean, you said you didn't want to eat, you didn't want to do it. Do you go in and out of that, or have you learned to deal with that more?
No, sometimes it still hits. It's when, like, I thank God I have my wife that understands what I do, so she
Yeah.
helps out. And it normally happens when I doing the work of God, but forgetting God. I'm not plugging myself
Okay.
back in. You know what I mean? Like, just like your cell phone, you can do all your work there, but if you don't plug it in, it's gonna, the battery's gonna run out. So
Yeah.
my spiritual battery is gonna run out if I don't plug myself back into God. But I'm like so busy trying to do His work, and
I can think about it all. Even in I have a pretty cushy job compared to rescuing. I mean, it's not a lot of trauma for me, but the exact same thing, right? If I get my heads in what I'm doing, and I don't spend time with the Lord, exactly. I totally get it. Well, let me look at my list here.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the signs. And I guess there's two sorts of signs. There's signs that someone's being about to be a trafficker, and there's signs that someone is being trafficked. Talk about what people, and then at the very end, we'll talk about how people can take this course and learn this in more detail. But what are the signs that someone is being trafficked? Let's talk about, like I have a airline flight attendant who represents, I won't say the name of her airline because he may not want me to, but she represents flight attendants and training them to recognize traffic children. So she's a personal friend. Let's talk about what they would look for on as far as seeing that someone is being trafficked on an airline on a flight. Would you know that kind of
Yeah,
information?
yeah. Like, for once, let's say I'm the trafficker and I have the female with me here, or a
Yeah.
kid. I'm doing all the talking. I'm not allowing her to talk. You ask me, or you ask her, your passport, please. I get the passport and pass it to you. Like, I'm controlling everything, and she's not. She's not even giving you eye contact, or the kid, or whoever it is. They normally want to take control. You cannot say anything. Um, and this is like in the airline, so you can see that she's walking timid. If he says, "Oh, that's my wife," but you don't see no affection,
Yeah.
there's always telltale signs. Like, I list the whole thing in the training there, but one of those is that they take control, they talk for you, and they manage all your stuff. Money, they have all the money. That the victim will never have money on them. It's the trafficker that will always have the money. So it's total control, total control.
Do the are there people? And I haven't even asked my flight attendant friend if she's ever affected a rescue right there, or she had police waiting. So I don't even know the answer to that. But do some kids, or young adults, or adults that are being trafficked, do they get rescued
Mhm.
and caught and rescued while they're in the custody of the airlines? Do they get
Yes.
stopped? They do.
Yes, we had a 14 Haitian girls and boys that were at their males with them. Now, they almost went through because it was a corrupt immigration person that was gonna, put them through. But a Canadian, I think, police officer that was gonna go on other. He saw something weird there. So he called, and they called us, and we rushed over there, and then we saw that, yeah, that person was trying to traffic those children to go to Mexico. 14 Haitian boys and girls from the age of 2 to 14 to go to Mexico.
Oh, and so they were able to rescue those kids.
Yes, yes.
Do you get, I mean, obviously it's satisfaction, but do you get to see these kids realize then in the moment they've been rescued? I mean, can they even grasp it yet?
Some don't. Like adults, there's still some adults that's like, you didn't rescue me from what you rescue me from. That the
Really?
victimization. They don't understand that they're victims until it hits them. They don't. From kids to adults. I mean, sometimes you're looked at as the enemy. Sometimes, especially if they got brainwashed long enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Man, what a complex thing. And your course, talk about the course that you go ahead and kind of give your spiel about the course that is available. It's like a $10 course. It's not like you're going to charge people a bunch of money, right?
No, it's $10, 40 minutes long, has downloaded materials, and I basically, it was more to fund my missions, because people wasn't donating. So I created the course for people like me to understand it in layman terms. I don't go into like hardcore definitions and stuff. I let you know what is human trafficking for everybody to understand what is human trafficking. Anybody can understand it, from 7th grader, 6th grader to, you know, college professor, whatever. But I put it in layman terms for people like me to understand it, and it gives you everything you need. You know, what is the trafficker profile, the characteristics, the elements of human trafficking, the common myths. There's a lot of myths of human trafficking, and I also give some bonus like COVID, what happened in human trafficking during COVID, and terrorism and human trafficking as well.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And it's a 40-minute thing, but then now they've got something, because none of us, you know, mere mortals that are walking around, this is not our area. I wouldn't have had a clue. You know, I probably was. Isn't it probably true that all of us have seen a trafficked child but never realized they were being trafficked? Would you think that would be true?
Yes, because the movies and the television series doesn't do justice. Like, we think there's always kidnapping, or the victim will scream for help or something like that, and it's not true. You know, you can literally have your next door neighbor as a trafficker and stuff is happening there. You will never know.
And they don't scream.
No.
So, man, you know, man. Oh, okay. Well, talk about anything else. Let me look at my list here. We talked about the Germany thing. And do you know, by the way, where America is on traffic? Somewhere I've heard that it's worse in the U.S. than any other place. But is that true, or is that are we really bad in traffic? In others, do we bring over a lot of victims into this nation? Is that what I understand is supposed to be true?
I don't get into politics too much, but there's something to that. Yes. With
Okay.
Mexicans, Haitians, you have a lot of immigrants that's coming in through different ways, and they do get trafficked, either labor trafficking, because that's a thing, or sex trafficking. So like I said, statistics wise, I can't say, but
Yeah. I mean,
it's
you
pretty bad.
probably maybe you don't feel freedom to talk about the border right now. Maybe that's too political. Do you have to stay away from that conversation, or can you talk about the border and trafficking?
I would stay away, but it's what you're hearing is true. That's why I could say what you're hearing is
Okay.
true, and even the traffickers are coming through and continuing it. You guys have a raise of Venezuelan victims coming in. We've seen it already in Philadelphia area, and you know, Atlanta, North Carolina are big hubs of human trafficking. I mean, one of the largest, and but Venezuelans are coming in and they're being trafficked as well. But again, you know, really don't. I'd stay away from
Yeah.
political stuff.
Sure, I understand that. Now, the dark web, and we've all heard that term on the dark web. So apparently, it's using the same computers and the same internet, but it's where people get. It's not using our normal browsers. People get into the dark web through. I don't know if it's kind of a sort of. I saw one of your terms. There's a browser. I see the name
Yeah. Tor, Tor.
Tor,
Yeah,
and
that's
there's
an
one.
onion.
The other one says Onion, and that's kind of like its own browser.
Yes, it's like its own operational system.
Okay.
You have to download the Tor, and then it's like another OS. So you're not going it through Microsoft. You're going through the Tor network, and it will change your VPN every 2 minutes or every minute. So it's like 1 minute you're in US, the other minute you're in Russia, whatever. And there you can find everything.
Is it basically? I mean, I see personally. I don't have any interest in getting into something that's primarily trafficked by traffic. Pardon the unintended pun, but by criminals. They're all in the dark web. But if you want to get to the criminals to get them arrested, you're going to have to be pretty good at the dark web, right?
Oh yeah, because it's not like let me see, StreamYard.com. No, it's like a bunch of words smashed in together, and then you just got to find your way through it. You have to have automatic. You have to have bitcoins or cryptocurrency, because it's not through dollars and nothing like that. No PayPal, nothing. Is through cryptocurrency when you purchase or get a contract. Like, you can get a assassin there. You know, highly paid
Really?
assassin. You can get drugs, guns, girls, boys, anything you can think of is in the dark web.
Well, and then if you are, do you do training to tell people even how to do that to help you, or
Just law enforcement. Just law enforcement.
just law enforcement? Okay, which makes sense. Makes sense. So, what would you say to somebody then, Fernando, who says, you know what, I've been listening to this, and it appeals to me to go in the field and help someone like Fernando and rescue children. That, I mean, there are people that sounds. I don't want to say exciting as if in fun,
Hmm.
because I don't
Hmm.
mean that, but I
Hmm.
mean, in other words, they want to help. They're really there for the long haul. What would you say to somebody? How would they know if they're a fit for that, and what would they do? Would they
Well,
contact you?
they can contact me or another nonprofit that does it, because you need to pray about it first of all if they're a believer, because it's not for everybody.
Yeah,
I know of Christian persons that they have gotten divorces from their wife because, like I said, excuse me, I'm very blatant, but sometimes when you're married long enough, the heat is not there. So when you do an undercover, these girls are trained to make you feel like a king, and
yeah,
like you're the only person that exists. And they do infidelity, not wanting to do it. It's not in their mind to go, but then it happens, so you need to be prepared here and spiritually, because it's not for everybody. So like I said, I got a couple of screw loose here, so I can get into. I've been into Russian territory, Russian mafia territory. I've been
whoa,
into Haiti, stuff like that. So I don't have fear, but I have the spiritual side too, so I see
yeah,
them as victims, not as beautiful, sexy women. I see them
yeah,
as victims.
yeah. So it sounds like if yeah, it seems like because there's people that exist that I could never live like that, because it's not, I'm not put together. Like, they would make great spies in Russia. They'd make good spies. The people that love being in the field, undercover work, really dangerous. That's kind of the person that would also work here. It sounds like, but you got to have a heart to really rescue children.
Yeah, if they want to do undercover, because then there's the victim services side of things, that after the rescue, like I said, the most hard, the hardest part is, try to get the victims back to normal, because our job is to make victims into survivors. So we're trying to get them out of the victim mode into the survival mode, and it's a hard, long process, but with love and compassion. Like I won my wife over with love and compassion, then she got saved, but it was with patience and understanding. I put my foot in her, in her shoes, and um, she has a mental illness called borderline,
Okay.
and it's like abandonment issues. So
Okay.
like right now I'm not with her, so she would think that I'm abandoning her. And thank God, like, she doesn't think suicidal thoughts like before she got saved, but she just gets animals. Like, I have 7 dogs, so probably I go back, there's a new dog there or something like that,
Oh
but
man.
that's how
Yeah.
she deals with it, so it's fine. It is what it is.
What I think I want to ask you this before we close. That I know that the movie The Sound of Freedom is waking us all up, but it's probably very mild compared to the reality. They have to make it palatable for us to begin to wake up. What are your thoughts about that movie? Good, bad, different? What it's accomplishing?
Let me say, how can I say it?
Choose your word. No, whatever you
No,
say. I just really want to know. So it's
uh, I I appreciate the movie, so people are more of awake and more of
yeah,
aware of it. But
yeah,
the movie really made sound, not because of the human trafficking issue. It made waves because Disney and Netflix and stuff was against it. So we are, U.S. is, or a lot of people is rebellious. So don't tell me what to do in the woke movement.
yeah.
So they want to see it because Disney and Netflix tells you not to see it. They didn't want to see it because there's a human trafficking, because there's other human trafficking movies that did not make that more realistic, that didn't make a splash. But
Yeah,
I appreciate the movie. I
yeah,
appreciate the person behind the movie. But it it also had a couple of myths. It's a movie, basically. It's a
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
What I mean? But
Well,
I
and I,
appreciate it.
as a person that's on this side, I know I probably needed to see something that I could bear. I could bear to see, and that was a hard movie to see, even when I knew going into it that it was super mild compared to what the reality is. Right? It really is super mild, but it helped me wake up. It helped
Yes.
me kind of go, man, this thing is real. There's literally was a girl, and one day she's with her family,
Yes.
smiling and happy. The next day she's gone.
Yes.
That movie did that for me. It helped me realize that's what happens. Well,
Yes.
like I said, it's probably much worse. So, but man,
Yes.
anyway. So, well,
That's what I'm
anything
trying
that, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. That's where I'm here now. I'm actually on a mission, and that's why I always said that any nonprofit, including ATBs, needs the 3 Ds, which is donors, doers, and door openers. So we need donors because unfortunately the money makes the world go around, and the, for us to
There's
even
the.
get close to
Is this where they donate? By the way.
yes.
Okay, so there's that. Okay.
To even get close to the traffickers, you need to show money. That's what they're interested in. You know what I mean? To save the victim is money, gas, hotels, undercover equipment. You know, so donors we need door openers, people that might not be able to donate but they know someone, or they know someone that can help with, let's say, marketing, or all these guys can donate, your spy equipment, stuff like that. And doers, which is the ones you mentioned, people that want to get out there in the field, so those 3 things is what makes a nonprofit function. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring as much victims back home this Christmas as you and the viewers enjoy Christmas with your family, sitting down dinner. I'll be working to try to get other families to get real night with, their lost one, their loved ones, this Christmas. And in order to do that, like I said, we need donors. We need, to move around. And
Yeah, and it's probably not 1-to-1 that the more money equal more rescues necessarily, but
Mm-mm.
but you do need the money for all the expenses. And
Exactly.
how does it look right now? Like, if when at your next operation, are your coffers kind of empty? Does it need a bunch of money in there so that you can draw on, or what?
Well, this particular trafficker, his woman that he has, including Ukrainian women, is just to get in costs $4,000 just to get in
Just to get in, when you say in.
his mansion.
Okay, just so it's okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I see
so
what you're saying. So you have to, if there was an undercover person, they need to have $4,000 cash
just
to
to
get
get
in.
in, exactly. That's just one example. That's the one we're doing actually now, but it's just one
Yeah,
example of
yeah,
how the things are. But again, like it's prayer is very important. This is a dangerous job.
that's
Prayer is
good.
very important for us, for any anti-trafficking nonprofit. Please pray,
Yeah,
because
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I can tell that you're working to make sure you include those things. Because if you could have all said everything you else said, but if you didn't call for prayer, people then maybe would forget to pray. But you're saying no, we need prayer covering.
oh yeah.
So, and you're told that you did have one stat, that how many rescues have you been part of then? How many children or adults or people have been rescued through your
Uh,
effort?
Close to 250, more or less. Close to
Wow.
250, about 50 something arrests, and trained a lot of the law enforcement around the world in
Wow.
human trafficking intelligence agencies and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I really want to encourage our viewers to give. They're pretty generous people. So I want you to encourage you to go into the anti-traffickingbureau.org and donate into that. We're going to do that ourselves. And I want to make sure you guys have what you need there. So, and let us know. And if you get into a crisis point where you need to raise some more money, I'm just going to say this out loud now. If you're really getting uptight and you need to get going and the money's not there, let us know. We might bring you back in. We'll do a
Thank
little
you.
bit of a fundraiser on there. So, anything else you'd like to tell us before?
Yes, my new book came out. It's called
Oh,
Faith
good.
Lifting. I sent you guys a photo. So it's
There, let's see. Okay,
yeah,
there. Oh, faith lifting. Good.
faith lifting. Yeah, it's
A guide
about
to. Oh, good. Go
yeah.
ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Talk
No,
about the
it's
book.
exactly that. A guide to strengthen your spiritual muscles. So I compare the two. The Lord has called me to create books to certain audience that normally the gospel doesn't reach to. So like I speak the language for weightlifters or gym addicts or CrossFit personnel. I speak their language there to preach the gospel so they can get a better understanding, just like Jesus did to the farmers. He talked about the kingdom of God like a seed and stuff like that. So he was talking to their level. So my books are going to come out, to certain audience that normally the gospel doesn't reach to them because it's not like their language, so to speak, but even a Christian could, a non-gym personnel can read this book and get some insights of building spiritual muscle.
Let's do this. And by the way, that had a name, Reverend Rambo or whatever.
That's
what was
me,
that?
yeah.
That's you. That's your publishing.
People call me Reverend Rambo because I'm an ordained minister, but since like train special forces and hand-to-hand combat stuff, they'd be like Reverend Rambo.
Oh, good. All right, now let's do this, Emily. We do have a 10 to 12 photos that I'm going from memory here. Let's cycle through those and see if there's anything you want to say about them.
Sure.
It doesn't have to take more than a few seconds on each one, but there's that you and someone.
Yes, undercover agent. That's when we trained the HSI personnel.
And this guy's with you.
Yes, he's one of my lead agents.
Oh, okay.
This is the arrest of one of the Germans that had the children. This guy's 80 years old.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Okay, wow. And
this was the youngest rescue, 9-month-old baby, when we did the rescue, because the mother was trafficking, or her own teen daughter. Her teen daughter had the baby, 9 months years old, and when we did the rescue, that baby was alone in the bed, almost falling down. So thank God she was not violated anyway, but she was alone because her mother was being sexually, exploited by her own mother, which is her grandmother. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Wow. And what's this?
This is a safe home in Ecuador. These are teens that have been sexually exploited, and I went to give them self-defense training. It was on February 14th, Valentine's Day, and I bought each one a rose to tell them how important and special they are.
Nice. Okay. Next one.
This was a rescue of 16 minors that was exploited by 2 traffickers. Their parents thought they were going to school, but they were not. They went to the trafficker's house, and the trafficker sexually exploited them. He had sexual photos of them because he groomed them through Facebook like a boyfriend, and he used it against them to do sexual acts.
Now, had they been kidnapped and done this, or were they going home every day?
They were going home every day because not every victim is in chains. They were going home every day, but they were in chains mentally.
Wow, for goodness sakes. Okay.
This was one of the victims from Operation Catalea, which was the 80 assault victims that were rescued. Okay. She has her own salon now. This is a picture of a batey. A batey is a Haitian village within the Dominican Republic where the slaves came in. We do events, and they don't even have bathrooms to do their necessities. They go into the sugar fields, and sometimes inside the sugar fields, the little girls, when they go to the bathroom, they get raped as well. So we try to give gifts. Like we try to, for this Christmas, give gifts, but we couldn't, able to raise the funds. But we give toys, food, school supplies, and preach the gospel to them. Wow. A lot of French Canadians, they love to come down and get these boys or girls to have sex with them as well.
Wow. Okay.
This was doing an undercover training. We had he had a bullet hole in his cheek. So we do disguises. We train law enforcement how to do disguises and stuff like that.
Is this like a reenactment or something?
Yes, like we put a bullet hole on his chin. Then we change him up. Like we teach him how to do good disguises in a low budget, in law enforcement agencies.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
This was the Dominican guy that sexually exploited his own kids and put it up in the dark web.
Jeez.
This was another group of 50 women in Ecuador that we had trained in self-defense. They're all victims of either domestic violence or human trafficking.
Okay. All right. Wow. Okay, Fernando. Thank you so much. I appreciate it again. Everybody, please be generous
Thank
in
you.
donating to this. Let's keep this ministry going. I guess you consider it as ministry as much as it is also your business, right? But it's a ministry slash. How would you say it?
It's definitely a ministry because Jesus is right in the middle of it. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't do it. He called me to do it, and I'm here. I could be making 6-figure incomes right now in the United States.
Yeah, and you did really.
Yeah, but I'd rather be doing what I'm called to do than make money. I'm not here to make an impression. I'm here to make an impact. So that's
Good
what I'm
for
here
you,
to do.
man. I appreciate it. Well, God bless you. We just really, I thank you for your service. You are in the army in so many ways, the army of the Lord. So, all right, have a great day, everybody. A quick reminder that Dr. Jan Halper Hayes will be with us on Thursday morning, so don't miss that. Thank you, Fernando. I appreciate it.
A blessing. Thank you.
Have a great day. See you later.
Too.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.